About 6 years ago, I got a phone call from one of my real estate agents, and they were letting me know about a duplex that was coming onto the market. She wanted to know if I wanted to come look at it first before it hit the market, and I said, yeah, of course. I got there, and oh my God, it was perfect. So, hey, if you're interested in what I've got to say, or you're interested in that story, hit the like button and subscribe. I really appreciate that. Well, we went out and looked at it, and there was 2 tenants, and found out later on that one of the tenants had been there for 30 years. The mom and dad had lived there, and then the son and his wife moved in, and they had kids. And then the other tenant was actually the owner. That was kind of the sticky part, because he wanted to stay after we closed escrow, and I said, no, we can't do that, because I'm always a little leery about someone that wants to sell me a property and rent it back to me. So this has happened more than once, and it's going to happen to you as investors, where you'll buy a house. So typically when you buy a house, you're going to buy it under value, right? That's what you're supposed to be doing as an investor, is you buy it under value and cash flowing. And so you buy it under value. That means that someone's in a hurry to sell for a reason. Typically it's financial, it can be a million things, but typically it's financial or something to do with finances. This guy's problem was finances. He didn't have any money, he had no job, but he had this duplex free and clear that his parents had given to him when they passed away. And he wasn't able to quite live on the rent that was coming in from the other house, which was like $1,200 a month at the time. So unfortunately for him, he was going broke slowly, and he couldn't afford to stay there anymore. He wanted to rent it back, and I'm thinking, okay, so he's going to rent it back for a period of time, but then he's going to run out of money again, because we know what happens to people when they get a bunch of money and they're not good with money. They spend it. So I said, all right, I'll give you 30 days, but that's it. I'm not gonna let you live there anymore, because I want to remodel it and rent it out for much more money. And he was only offering $800 a month, and it was a $1,300 a month house. So we agreed with that, and I held back $50,000. We made an offer to him originally at $250, and they were asking, I believe, $325. And we eventually agreed to $275, which I think was a phenomenal deal. I think duplexes in that area right now are going for probably in the $650 range, like that, maybe even more. So we got a great deal. But again, he was in a hurry, and what sold the deal was cash in 7 days, no inspection contingencies, no loan contingencies. And that's what he wanted to hear. He wanted to hear that he was going to get his money. He wasn't so concerned about the amount, but that he was going to get it quickly. We let him stay. And 30 days go by, I go knock on the door, and I say, it's time for you to go, and it doesn't look like you've done anything to get ready to go. And he had literally not packed anything. The only thing that I saw there that I hadn't seen there before was a lot more beer cans. Sadly, the guy was just drinking himself to death while he was there. So I gave him an ultimatum. I said, look, if you're not out by the end of the day, I'm going to keep the $50,000, and I'm going to have to evict you. And you don't want that, and I don't want that. And I ended up giving him till the next morning, and I got there, and he still hadn't done anything. So I pushed and prodded and prodded and pushed, and I finally got him out just by being obnoxious. At the end, he said, Mark, is there any way I can get that $50,000? And he was pretty upset, actually. He didn't say it that nicely. And I said, my friend, I gave you every chance I could. No, I'm not going to give it back to you. And a lot of people would probably think that I'm a bad guy for that. But honestly, I had a contract. He was an adult. We negotiated it. And, at the time, I didn't realize what kind of a problem he had. I knew that he was a bit of a loser and that he drank a little bit. But, once he had more money, he drank an awful lot. So anyway, I made him stick to the contract. He moved and got a call from a lawyer about a week later. And he said, look, I'm going to have to, file a lawsuit if we can't come to some sort of an agreement. And I said, you're going to lose that lawsuit. And he said, yeah, I know that, but it's going to be messy and it's going to cost money. And I said, yeah, I understand. So we ended up agreeing with $25,000, and he was, as happy as he could be. And I never heard from him again. Let me tell you why I think it's the best deal we ever did. By the way, if you're looking to buy your first place, there's a download down below. It's a checklist for new investors just a way for you to start getting your ducks in a row so you can get your finances straight, get your credit straight, and start looking for that property and get pre-qualified. All the steps you got to take kind of lines them out for you so you can start working on that now. If you've got extra time, now's the time to do it. Get those things out of the way. Anyway, I said I'd share with you why this was my favorite investment. I've got some investments out there that make a lot more money. And I've got investments out there that are worth more and they're nicer. And there's a lot of things about my other properties that are better than this property. But the one thing I like about this one is it just has consistent cash flow since the day we bought it. Repairs are at a minimum. It's pretty close to my house. It's about 15 minutes away. So it would be actually our closest property. So I do tend to self-manage some of it. I do have a management company that handles the background checks and things like that on tenants, but I handle the showings, and if there's an issue, I might go out every once in a while, but generally I'll send my handyman out. But just the fact that I got it so cheap and the cash flow is so good, it just feels good every time I get a rent check because I know most of that's going in my pocket. You know, the 40% rule that I always talk about, and by the way, check out the video called the 40% rule if you haven't. That's a great video. It's going to teach you how you can quickly look at a rental and see if it's actually going to work or not before you put time into it. So this one actually destroys the 40% rule. We are, you know, we always put in 40% for expenses and then plus the debt service. And we make such good cash flow off this. Normally, if I could make $300 or $400 a door, I'm ecstatic. That's amazing. This one, we have 2 doors, and I think we're probably netting at the end of the month, we're probably netting close to $500 to $600 a door. That's not bad, $1,200 a month for a duplex. Not bad at all for something that I've got almost paid off now, actually, because I've had it for 6 years and I'm just knocking that debt out. Another thing I like about it is the long-term tenant that's there. Now, because I've kept their rent fairly low, and this is something to think about if you've got a long-term tenant and you can afford to do it, long-term tenants, especially, you know, people that have been there for a while that have a little bit of pride in where they live, they'll do a lot of the repairs without even asking. I go there and there's new landscaping done, there's new plants, they've planted trees, they built a fire pit, they've all kinds of things that most tenants wouldn't do or put the money into. They put new floors in the house. They asked me at first, they said, you know, Mark, would you come out and do these things? And I said, well, guys, here's the deal. I am letting you guys live here for about $500 a month less than what it's really worth. I can either raise the rent and do all these repairs or leave it where it's at and you guys can do those repairs. Now, if it's health and safety, like electrical, plumbing, the roof, the windows, things like that, of course, we're Johnny on the spot, we take care of it. But then anything aesthetic that they want done, I let them do it. And they're glad to do it. They're saving, you know, $6,000 a year in rent. That's one of the reasons I like it. It's got a garage, okay? That's kind of rare in our area for duplexes, triplexes. A lot of them have them, but then you pay more money. This is a garage in between 2 houses, so they share a 2-car garage, but it's got a wall right down the middle. Brilliant. They've got their own doors. So it's got a yard, it's got a garage, it's got everything a family wants. So it just checks off all the boxes. So those are the kind of things you want to look for. So how did I get the deal I got? I waited for someone to come along that was that had a problem, had a financial problem that I could help with. And that's the way I ended up buying probably 90% of my properties is someone has a financial problem, a family problem, some sort of problem that I can solve by buying it quickly for cash. I know you're going to ask, well, Mark, I don't have cash. How do I do it? Guys, I talk all the time about private money, and you can use hard money too. A lot of folks, I know like Rick Jarman and Thatch Nguyen, will actually use hard money to buy it. They'll fix it up, they'll get it rented out, then they'll get bank financing. Now, Rick doesn't use hard money, Thatch does. Rick will use private money and then he'll get a bank loan on it. That's the way you do it. You will actually get private money, which we've talked about before. Check out my old other videos. Or you'll get hard money, depending on what you can do and what you can afford. And then once you've got that up and running, you can go to the bank and get a loan for it, especially if you've gotten a good deal on it. Now keep in mind, guys, I always say, buy it under value, make sure it cash flows. If those 2 criteria are met, you'll be fine. As long as you've done your homework on the area and your tenants and things like that. Now, those are variables I can't control. All I know is that if you buy it under market and it cash flows to begin with, you should be fine. Hey guys, if you like this, please hit the like button and subscribe. I really appreciate you showing up today and taking the time out of your schedule to watch this. Have a great day, and I will see you next week.
Hey guys, check out these 2 videos. They're really going to help you on your investment journey. I'm also on Instagram. Tons of great video content there. Really good stuff. Please subscribe. I'll see you next time.